name is Jasmine, and today I'm going to be speaking about the time that I lost my innocence to an older cousin. I was born to a 16-year-old mother and a 17-year-old father. He was actually addicted to a substance before I was even born. In my home was my grandma, my mother. In the mix of that, I don't know, what happened between my mom and her mom. My grandma ended up taking custody of me. In the home with my grandma, I have good and bad memories. I was a bright young child growing up. My daughter reminds me of myself a lot. I was a happy child, and I had my uncle, my favorite uncle. He played the role of a father. When it came down to my relationship with my mom, I don't even know how I found out that she was my mom. I don't know if growing up, people always told me that was my mom or anything like that, but I truly don't remember. But me and my mom, we didn't have a relationship growing up. It was more so like a sister relationship. Then I called her Angie and I called my grandma Mom. I never even thought about saying like, oh, why I don't live with my mom. Growing up, I never, thought about like why I don't live with my mom, because it was kind of basically like a normal thing for me, staying with my grandma. But as I became a teenager, when I was 12 and 13, that's when I start, questioning, like why don't I live with my mom? Why my other siblings live with my mom and not me? I'm the oldest, but she has children after me. The brother under me, he's like a year and probably 2 months under me. Until I was 8 years old, I remember, having good memories, always laughing and stuff. Up until I was maybe 8 years old. And then at 8 years old, I had like a sexual encounter with another child. I had a birthday party. My mom and my grandma, she gave me a birthday party, and our neighbor daughter asked to stay the night with us, and we slept in the living room. And while we were sleeping in the living room, I woke up to her licking on me and then asking me to lick on her, and she was only 9. So that was my first sexual encounter, was with another 9-year-old girl. I was like really shocked. I didn't know what was going on because it had never happened to me before. So it was just like, okay, like I was shocked, and then I was confused, and I also was like, okay, maybe this is okay. I didn't know what it was. Like I didn't know what sex was. I never had anyone come to me and talk to me about sex or, tell me about my body. Nobody's supposed to touch you here. Nobody's supposed to touch you there. That's why I'm so big on that with my children as they get older. I just want to, let them know, don't let nobody touch you there. You don't touch nobody there. It was a child, that gave me my first sexual encounter. Now that I look back on it, it's shocking because it's like it's a child. I don't know if things were happening in her home when she stayed the night with me. Whatever was being done to her in her home, she ended up illustrating that on me. Probably 2 years ago, I found out that her father was molesting her in her home. So something was happening to her. After it happened, I didn't feel the need to tell anyone. I didn't know if it was good or bad, basically. Like I didn't know if it was something that I wasn't supposed to do. I didn't know if it was something that I was supposed to do. Like I basically was like, okay. The next day I didn't tell anyone because I didn't know that she wasn't supposed to do that to me. Or, I wasn't supposed to do the things that she asked. But now looking back, it's like, okay, yeah, I should have said something. I don't, say if I would have said something, maybe they would have found out earlier about her and, things that were happening in her home, that could have happened. But yeah, if I probably would have said something early, if I would have said something at the time, then maybe they would have gotten down to the bottom of what was going on in her home, and it could have saved her also. When it comes down to, children and my children, I recommend to always say something. When I was around the age 10 or 11, we ended up moving into a house, and my grandma, she kept a house full of people. Everyone loved coming over my grandma's house. When we had family come from out of town, they stayed with my grandma. She was a foster mom, so she just, kept a house full of people. And one particular day, she ended up going to Atlantic City and leaving an older cousin to watch me. He was actually like one of my favorite cousins growing up before, this incident happened. He was like one of my favorite cousins that I played around with all the time. Very nice to, all the children. Now, today, I know that there were always speculations and rumors about him being a predator. So I always look back and say, okay, if those rumors was going around, my family and stuff, and if people like already knew that he was a predator, there are people that I know now that before me, he, did things to inappropriately. It was like, okay, if, everybody know that this man is a predator and, it's rumors of him being a predator, and some other women in our family are actually were victim of him, why would you guys allow him to continue to be around children, especially little girls? So when I was between the age of 10 and 11, my grandma went to Atlantic City. She left my older cousin to watch us. It was, a house full of children, her foster children, and my mom, younger children. We all fell asleep in the living room. He was drinking his beer or something like that. And I was holding my little sister in my arm. I woke up to him rubbing on my private area through my pants. I just was like scared. Like I just like froze. Just like, oh my God. I just played it off like it didn't happen and like stuff like that. Like right in a moment, I just like froze still. And I'm like, okay, he's touching me. I don't know what to do. I'm a little girl, like this, a grown man, like I don't know what to do. I woke up, got up, and I, grabbed my little sister, like basically like trying to protect my little sister, because now I feel like I'm in danger. For some reason, my body just went into like a freeze mode, and I just felt like I was in danger. So I grabbed my little sister, and we went upstairs, and he said, everybody go upstairs and go to bed. So we all went upstairs, went into my grandma's room. She had a really big, like king size bed. So we went into my grandma's room, all the kids, and we laid down. I laid down, and I put my sister on the inside of the bed, and I laid on the outside of the bed, and then he went left and went downstairs, drifted right back off to sleep. And then the next few minutes, I know he was like coming back up the steps. Like I just smelled a whiff of. And so he put his tongue in my ear, and then he put his fingers in my pants, and he put his fingers like inside of me, and I was like just holding my legs, like trying to close my legs like really, really tight. And I was just like bear hugging my little sister and like trying to like imagine that like, like I wasn't there. He was just like whispering in my ear. He said, come downstairs and let me show you what the boys are actually going to do to you when you get older. I just was like ignoring him, like holding my eyes super tight and closed. And I just was like trying to, just was wishing that he wasn't touching me. After that, I just like blacked out everything. The next day, it was just, I didn't say anything to nobody. In that moment, I just felt like, because I was a bright child. Like, I was like a happy child. Who I am today was who I was as a child. Very happy, very joyous, very talkative. After that happened, like, I just became a mute. Like, I just became like very dark, angry. And that's when I just started fighting all the time. From that moment, it was like I lost who I was. Like, I lost my mind. Like, I just felt like I just lost everything, like my innocence. I just lost everything that day. Like, just looking back, it's like I turned into a whole nother person. I started desiring sexual relationships and stuff. I started getting into boys before I wasn't a grown child. I still wasn't having sex because I was scared. I didn't really start having sex till I was older. Very fearful for me to have sex. I was just very shy. He still was around, like my family, for years afterwards. Like, he would come over every day as if nothing happened. I would have to hug him and still smell like stuff on his breath. And it was like every time I seen him, I lost a part of me, because it's like, I know what you did, but I can't tell. And it's like, I'm not trying to protect him, but I'm also not trying to, mess anything up in the family. And then I didn't know who to tell. Like, I don't have any special bond with people. Like, I didn't, me and my mom, we didn't have a relationship. My dad, growing up, newborn to like 21, I probably seen my dad 2 times in my life. My dad is not here to protect me. So my relationship with my grandma was like the type of grandma that when something happens, everybody know. And that was another thing why I didn't want to say anything, because I didn't want everybody to know. So I just kept it to myself. Like I said, he was just always at the house. I literally had to see him all the time. Being a child that's not protected, and then seeing the person, you know, that did something to you every day that is very hurtful, and it's like you die inside every time you see him. It's like something is like, okay, nobody know, you know, that this happened, and like he's still around. But and the thing was, it's like everybody know that he's a predator. Like, why y'all still letting him around children? I should have never been accessible to you to do this to me, because you have done this to people before me. And I know that he has done this to people before me, because when I got older and I said something, it was like, oh, he did this to me too. Everybody know. Now I'm hearing rumors about, you know, him doing stuff like this to his girlfriend, daughters. And then that was something that wasn't a rumor, but everybody knew about it. So it was like, he's still around. Nobody protected me, you know, as a child. Very damaging to me, because I didn't have nobody to talk to. I became very suicidal. Every single day from that moment, I battled with suicide. When I was like 17, I had wrote a letter, and I took 30 and I laid down and went to sleep. And I woke up and I'm like, wow. And I just woke up with a banging headache. Like, nobody knew that that's what I did. But I wrote a letter so that, you know, when they found me dead, that they will find a letter, and, you know, that they will know, you know, what I was battling with. I woke up and it was as if I never took the pills. I just had a headache, and I just felt dizzy and like a little woozy. But it was like as if I never took the pills. That was my first suicide attempt. And then I had another suicide attempt where I had walked into moving traffic. They ended up calling my mom and her friend, and they ended up coming to see me, coming to get me, and praying for me. I had always battled with suicidal thoughts from this situation. I developed a eating habit, because it was like after that happened, I comfort myself through eating. Every day after school, from there, I will go to the corner store, a tasty cake and a soda and a bag of chips every single day. And I would go home and I would just sit in front of the TV and watch Arthur, like zone out. I always wanted to be by myself in my room, isolated. And when eventually I did move with my mom and her husband, I would just want to stay in my room. You know, just stay in my room, and they would try to get me to come out of my room. But it was just like, I just found peace and comfort and, you know, safety alone. Even around a bunch of friends, I just always felt alone. I always just, you know, felt lonely, because after that situation, I just programmed myself to just comfort myself and just be, you know, alone. When I finally got the courage to speak about it, I was like well into my 20s. I ended up letting someone in my family know this happened to me when I was younger, and that family member said the same thing happened to them by him. Once I said something, even in my adulthood, I still was looking for somebody to say, okay, yeah, we're gonna say something. We're going to definitely approach this situation. But I still, like, nobody still never said anything. When I got pregnant with my daughter, that was something that I was just in my mind. Like, my whole pregnancy with my daughter was like, I have to protect her. The first thing that I wanted to process and, you know, deal with was the sexual trauma. I dealt with it on my own, and, you know, I went through counseling, and I went through steps of, you know, healing from that. I ended up speaking about it on Facebook, trying to help people. I just put the whole thing out there, and I put his name, and I just felt so free. Like, I just felt so free. Immediately, my family started blocking me on Facebook, calling me, and, you know, telling me that I was seeking attention, doing things, you know, for the internet, and I was, you know, stirring up drama. My intention on speaking out about it and telling my testimony was to help others. I ended up deleting the whole thing and basically just going back into like a deep depression. Felt like he was protected. They wanted to protect his name. I just started praying a lot, asking God to heal me, researching on forgiveness and healing, and reading books on sexual trauma and how to overcome it. Basically, I just started, you know, like wanting to heal, you know, just desiring it. I also asked God, I said, when I do process this, and when I do heal, if that's the closure that I need seeing him, I pray that you let me run into him so that I can tell him that I remember what you did, and then I can offer him forgiveness, whether he give me an apology or confirm that those are the things that he, did to me. I ended up running into him years later. It was so shocking to me. I walked up to him and I told him, and I said, I remember what you did to me. And he said, Jazz, I'm sorry. I hope that you forgive me because I was not in my right state of mind at the time. And I told him, I said, and I forgive you. And he said, thank you for forgiving me. And that was the end of the conversation. After that, it was just like a breath of fresh air. I felt vindicated. I felt like God vindicated me. Such an awesome feeling. I called my best friend and I told her. I ended up telling my fiance, because he know. I just thank God for vindicating me. I was just so happy.